Hi, this is Sean D'Souza from Psychotactics.com, and we're going to look at Apple versus HP. What makes the pages different? When we look at the pages side by side, what we see is a marked difference between the two. And you have to ask yourself, which of these one is better? Which of these works better for the client? Well, we first have to look at the pages, and we start off with the obvious, obviously, which is less clutter versus more clutter. Immediately we can see the difference between the two pages, but what's really happening? And that's what we're going to cover, these 3 points. The first is isolation, the second is about the factor of choice, and the third is color confusion. And this is what's causing the pages to be so different from each other. So let's start off with the first thing, which is isolation. What is isolation? Isolation is just getting something bigger and bolder than the other things. So here's what's happening. On the Apple page, you start to see that there's more white space, but there's also this contrast between what you've seen up there and what you see below. These are smaller pictures, less white space. So there's that contrast, and that forces your eye to go to a specific spot. And you can see this quite clearly when we zoom in. You start to see that there is this isolation factor, the white space, everything's there. When we look at HP, on the other hand, you don't see any of this. What you see is complete chaos. There's stuff that you really don't know and don't want to see. And even when you look at some section that is isolated, it's not isolated in a big way. So that space is almost the same size as this space. And you don't know where to look. Your eye is not clear where to look. So the first factor is really one of isolation. Well, that takes us to the second one, right? The choice dilemma. And the choice dilemma is really critical, because when we look at an ice cream cone, for instance, when you go to buy an ice cream, if they only had one flavor, which is strawberry, for instance, you'd have strawberry, more strawberry, more strawberry. It'd be fine because all of the strawberries add up to one strawberry, just one flavor. So you're not really making a choice. The problem with choice starts when you have more than one flavor, when you have more than one thing to choose from. So when you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 things to choose from, that's where the problem starts. And why is this a problem? Because choice is not what we choose, but what we do not choose. I'll say that again. Choice is not what we choose, but the stuff that we have to eliminate. So we have to eliminate 4 things to get to one thing. And that's what causes the confusion. When you have 200 things to eliminate, or rather 200 things, then you have 199 things to eliminate. And that's the problem with your HP page. Now, the Apple page has no such problem. So when you look at the Apple page, there are few things to look at, so fewer things to eliminate. The HP page has a ton of things to eliminate. So there's 1, 2, should I look at this? What about that? What about this? What about that? What's happening is this whole factor of I have to eliminate what I don't want to see so that I can see what I really want to see. And that's why choice is so tiring, because you have to eliminate, and it goes on and on and on. So those are the 2 things, but of course HP goes on to color confusion as well. When you look at Apple, you'll see that they're working very hard to keep a specific tone, especially in this ad when we're looking at these 2 pages. And you'll see that there's a shade of blue, and then there's almost remarkably the same shade of blue, and then another shade of blue. And this creates some kind of, coherence between the page. Well, when you start to look at HP, they've got a paint box. They've got their paint box, and they want to use every single color in the paint box. And so it's red, it's blue, it's yellow. As you go down the page, they have orange, they have, lemon yellow. And it's not just that, it's also the shades. So when you start to look at shades, that's almost like an ultramarine blue. And because of the gray, or in spite of the gray, I'm not really sure, but that shade is different. It's a much duller blue. And then of course we go to accredited businesses, and that's like a completely different blue, which I have no clue what. And then we have the Twitter blue, and which is a sky blue. And so now you've got 4 shades of blue in a very small area. That's not counting the yellows and the greens and the reds and the grays and the blacks and then the tones on everything else. So which page is better? Well, evidently one page is better, but you've got the three reasons why they're better. And the first factor is one of isolation. When you isolate something, make it bigger, make it bolder, make it stand out, you force my eye to look in that direction. The second is the choice factor. When you have too many things, then I have to eliminate all those things to get to the thing I want, which is the biggest problem with choice. And finally, it's color confusion. Too many colors, even too many shades cause me to get confused. So, get people to get one thing and move them through the steps one by one, and that's what makes a better page.